All right. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Outdoor Ambassador Program informational webinar. My name is Josh Van Brakel. I work in DCNR's Bureau of Recreation and Conservation. I'm really just handling tech logistics here for this meeting, so I'm going to go over a few quick housekeeping items, and then I'll be jumping out of the way and getting you over to our presenters for today. So we are using this Teams webinar function. For folks who have used Teams, a lot of this will look pretty similar. Um, Basically, the way that we have this set up, we do have you all on mute, and we have your cameras turned off for the presentation portion of the webinar. We do have the whole webinar scheduled to go for about an hour, and we anticipate that the presentation piece will be about 45 minutes. We've left about 10 to 15 minutes at the end for some Q&A time. And during that Q&A time, we're going to try, we'll see how it goes, to allow you to unmute and put your cameras on if you wish for that Q&A time. You are certainly welcome to use the chat as well for Q&A, and I would encourage you, as our presenters are going along today, if you do think of a question as they are going, feel free to type that question in the chat so you don't forget about it, and that way we'll have those questions logged for when we get to the Q&A portion at the end of the webinar. So feel free to post in the chat as we go along, but do know that we're going to be holding those questions for the end of the webinar. I think that's about it as far as logistics. You can see some more logistics there on the screen. I should note that we are recording the webinar today. The recording will be made available to everybody who registered. So that will be available. We're also going to be posting that recording for other folks to view after the webinar is over. So just do be aware that the webinar is being recorded. So if you do unmute, if you do turn your camera on, you will be part of that recording. So be aware of that, and be aware that by continuing to be on the webinar, you are consenting to that recording. All right, that is all for me. I'm going to jump out of the way and introduce our first speaker, who is my colleague, Gretchen Leslie. Gretchen, take it away.
Thanks, Josh. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you all for spending a brief time with us this afternoon to learn more about our Outdoor Ambassador Program. As Josh said, my name is Gretchen Leslie. I'm a senior advisor here at DCNR. I handle special projects and initiatives like this one. I was partially responsible for helping to secure the funds that are bringing us together today. Like many of you, I'm sure I'm passionate about the outdoors, and I like to share that enthusiasm and knowledge with others. And I've been fortunate from my seat here at DCNR over the last several decades. I've been able to do that through programs such as this. We all know that the pandemic opened the floodgates to outdoor enjoyment and exploration. Some of that was temporary, but our data indicates, and I'm sure you're seeing that as well, is that visitation numbers are higher than they were prior to the pandemic. People fell in love with the outdoors, they're exploring more, and we just expect that trajectory to rise. And a lot of those people are new to our outdoor spaces. So that's where this program came in. After the pandemic, the federal government supplied tourism recovery money to state tourism offices. And for here in Pennsylvania, that's the Department of Community and Economic Development, DCD. We work with DCD here at DCNR very closely. And on this, we got a tiny slice of that money that was awarded to the state to develop the program that we're going to talk to you about today. So we're piloting, you'll hear more from this, obviously, during the webinar, but we're piloting this program in 2 areas of the state where DCNR had similar structure already established for our own staff frontline training, and we partnered in that effort with the Pennsylvania Environmental Council. So we were fortunate to bring them on again for this pilot venture because we can't do this alone, and certainly can't do it alone just with Pennsylvania Environmental Council and ourselves here at DCNR. So that's where all of you come in. We have many experts in the room, outdoor recreation experts, tourism experts in these regions, and thank you for joining us today. Through this pilot, we're going to point to that expertise of our DMOs, our CVBs, and our outdoor recreation specialists. We want to capitalize on all the great resources that are out there, and that the information is available for people. So speaking of experts, we brought on Amy Camp from Cycle Forward to develop and lead this pilot program of the Outdoor Ambassadors. Amy's been an outdoor recreation consultant and tourism coach locally, nationally for nearly 20 years. Those of you from the Laurel Highlands might know Amy from her work on the Trail Town program along the Great Allegheny Passage. She's a trail and heritage tourism expert and helps communities really realize their full potential of their outdoor amenities. So we're super fortunate to have her leading this effort and her bringing her expertise to the table. So with that brief intro, I'm stepping aside as well, and I'm excited to turn it over to Amy to chat with you today about our pilot outdoor ambassador program in the Laurel Highlands and Pocono landscapes. Thank you so much for joining us. And Amy, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Gretchen. Really appreciate that setup. And Josh, thank you as well. I am so excited to be here. We have been working on this program for quite a while now. I'll show you the timeline in a little bit. But this is one of those steps in this planning that makes it feel even more real. And it's so real, in fact, that we will have the application ready to share with you by the end of the discussion. So I'm happy to be here. We are planning on a fun and engaging and informative program with the Outdoor Ambassador pilots this spring. And today's our chance to tell you a little bit more about it. So let's go. All right. So a little bit about what we'll cover today. All of the things you might expect. We'll give you a little bit more background. We'll talk about the purpose of the program, what we're planning on, what we're aiming for, some of the benefits of participating, a little bit about the content, the details, how we hope it'll look and feel, and and how to apply, of course, and then we will get to the Q&A and the discussion. As Josh mentioned, feel free to put any of your questions or comments in the chat in the meantime. We do have Alicia Brody from our team monitoring the chat. If they're simple questions, she'll try to reply to them right away. If they're ones that require discussion, we will get around to them by the end of the discussion. So we will get to all of this, but first let's have a little bit of fun. We have a poll here for you. It's not a literal poll. We're asking you to use the chat to tell us what type of outdoor traveler you most identify with. So please drop it in the chat. Do you identify most with the nature lover, the photographer, the backpacker, or the thrill seeker? I'm going to give it just a couple of minutes and we'll see what's coming through. Keep going, keep going. I like the tree. That's a nature lover for sure. A little bit of everything, I think.
We had a couple thrill seekers in there. I love it.
Yeah. Wonderful. Stacy, the nature lover and the thrill seeker. I know you, and I know that's true of you. Great, nature lover / photographer. All right, thanks everyone for taking the time to share. One of the things that we plan to do in this program is to explore outdoor traveler types and traveler types in general. We did some testing in the fall with this activity, and we had folks in a classroom, and they were moving around the classroom to the corners of the room that had different types up on the wall, and it was really fun and informative to explore this. And a part of the reason that we do it is so that you can think about how you like to be outside, think about how you like to travel, and then we hone in a bit to what are the needs of outdoor travelers, and how can we be prepared to better assist them. So that's just to give you just a really quick flavor for one of the many things that we plan to do in the spring. I'm going to ask you to stay in the chat. Whatever your type was, why don't you tell us a place in your region where you would send somebody who also shares that same way of wanting to travel? So if you're a thrill seeker, tell us a thrill seeker type place where you would send somebody in your region. I love it. Lots of good places here. I can't possibly keep up in naming them. Just seeing you commenting all of the places that you love and that you'd like to send people to is a reminder of something that's really important to us with this program, which is recognizing that the wisdom will be in the room. And we recognize and we celebrate the fact that so many of our people that are working in frontline and other positions where they're interacting with outdoor travelers know the region well, and just maybe want to know it better, have more tools and resources. And we again see that the wisdom is in the room, and that's sort of where our thinking is as we've been creating the program and planning for it. So I'm going to keep us moving, but thank you all for participating in the chat and sharing some of the places that are special to you. A little bit about the background of the program. I think that Gretchen covered it really well, but I just want to call out again that this is a partnership between DCNR and PEC, and my company, Cycle Forward, which is based in Pittsburgh, has been working with both organizations to bring the program to life. So those are the folks that are involved and the entities involved. Gretchen already talked about this being an American Rescue Plan Act. This comes out of the pandemic. There was a renewed interest in the outdoors, sort of like a mass return to the outdoors. And, the purpose, again, is to position frontline staff and volunteers to help travelers have safe and enjoyable outdoor experiences. And I don't know if Mike Muma from the Laurel Highlands is here or not, but one of the things that you might hear Mike say is that we're all on the front line. You could work any number of positions in any number of organizations, and you will encounter people who are visiting and are looking for help. So timeline. I mentioned to you that we've been working on this for a little while now. We really got going with our initial research in June of 2023, started trying to understand what we want this program to be and what some of the stakeholders might be looking for, what DCNR staff might be looking for. I'm going to have another slide on this, but we did a whole lot of research into like last spring, and then we got to, okay, we understand, we think what we need to provide, let's start creating content. So we've been creating content for much of the last year. We still have some content we're finalizing for the spring, just at the same time that we are getting into program logistics, right? We are essentially planning events in 2 different parts of the state and are just doing all of the things that you need to do to get ready to host a program like this. We will host the program beginning in March and ending in May. And then this being a pilot, we will give it a really good evaluation so that we can understand how it worked and where to go from here. I mentioned the research phase. Well, of course, how do we develop this content, right? The first thing is the grant proposal. Like there were certain promises made in the grant proposal, but beyond that, we did a lot of research. We we interviewed DCNR staff. We surveyed partners to DCNR in both landscapes. We did a partner focus group. We looked at older DCNR surveys for all of the staff that attended frontline trainings in both landscapes. We looked at what they were saying about what they're looking for and what kinds of questions they field. And we researched other programs. There are programs that are kind of similar in some other states, and we wanted to understand how those programs work. And of course, we have been testing content all along the way. So that's a little bit about how we got to where we are. I wanted to give an overview about the program. First, I want to start by recognizing that not everyone here probably knows what a conservation landscape is. And this is a program that is built around 2 of the state's 8 conservation landscapes. So I do just want to say that years ago, DCNR recognized 8 regions that are working at a landscape level to take collective action related to 4 different areas that include sustainability, conservation, recreation, and community revitalization. So out of these 8 landscapes that are recognized throughout the state, DCNR, whenever it was working on this grant proposal with DCED, identified the Laurel Highlands and the Pocono Forest and Waters. You may hear me say PFW for short, but essentially identified these 2 regions as ones where there's already some traction in the way of thinking about frontline interactions and thinking about finding ways to better serve outdoor travelers. So that's kind of how we ended up working and targeting these 2 regions. And what we are looking at is 20 hours of programming in each landscape. We're looking to create cohorts of 40 people in each landscape that go through this 20 hours of programming together as a group. That includes first some self-paced online content, maybe 1 to 2 hours, followed by an in-person classroom day, and then finally 2 site visit days. This all unfolds again between March and May of this year. So I'm laughing at myself here because I had this "if you remember nothing else today" slide. And then I realized that there's a lot to remember on this slide. This is a lot of information. But as I took a closer look at it, the theme is people, right? We're aiming to build a cohort of people who are excited about the outdoors and want to share that excitement with visitors, share that excitement also with their peers. These are people who care about their places and want to build upon that passion and enthusiasm. Like I said before, we know that the wisdom will be in the room. We know that people are already good ambassadors to the region, but may be looking for more tools, more resources, more regional familiarity, and a network of like-minded peers. So again, we're looking to empower 80 ambassadors to do all of these things. I'm not always the best at reading through a bullet list, but I'll do my best here. We want the ambassadors to be able to promote and describe outdoor visitor experiences to their visitors. We want them to be able to connect with visitors about the region, to build relationships with each other, and to provide information that helps to protect and preserve the natural landscape while providing safe and enjoyable outdoor experiences. Again, this is a program that was first imagined during the pandemic, whenever there was this really great interest in the outdoors. And so protecting some of our favorite spaces has to come into our thinking here as we're encouraging people to maybe send people out to some of their favorite places, whether or not they're the most popular places, and just thinking about stewardship and conservation as a part of their visitor interactions. It's always important to understand the why of why you are doing anything. Again, this is not a list that I want to read every last word of, but this supports DCNR's mission, right? To help people to enjoy the outdoors. DCNR, I think, and this is based on employees that I've talked to, want to be able to promote sustainable relationships, want to improve upon relationships with communities, and again, help visitors have safe and enjoyable experiences. So there's a lot of reason for them as an agency to do that, to do this program, and we think that there's a collective interest in improving the visitor frontline interaction. So that's sort of like a little bit of what's behind this. A really much more streamlined way to explain this is that the project team has this guiding compass. We've used it in our planning, and we plan to use it as we deliver the program. And that is positioning frontline staff and volunteers to help visitors have more enjoyable and enriching outdoor experiences. Like every single thing we think about from a content perspective, we want to sort of like meet that goal. So let's talk a little bit more about what we're growing. This is where we're going to get a little bit more about the program itself. These are the program values. We've been using these in planning, and again, they will be a part of the cohort experience. We are centering this program on stewardship, sense of place, as well as pride of place. We're taking a landscape approach, obviously. We're valuing hospitality through safe and welcoming experiences, respect and dignity, both for the people who are participating and for the visitors that we encounter, and community. Creating a sense of community is a very important part of this program. We thought it could help to give you some example content, just give you a little bit of a feeling for the kinds of content we've been testing and that we've been creating. There's going to be a heavy emphasis on site visits and getting to know the region. There will be the getting to know the region a little bit through like the classroom day and the online content, but you may have noticed we have 2 entire days dedicated to site visits. And that's because whenever we surveyed partners last winter, that was just these are the things that people asked for. These are the things that they said will help them to do their jobs best, as if they have a chance to know their regions a little bit more intimately. And we've seen similar comments and requests coming out of like former DCNR surveys as well. So heavy emphasis on getting to know the region. Also exploring sense of place and pride of place. What do you love about the Laurel Highlands? What do you love about the Pocono Forest and Waters? How do you want to convey your pride of place and what you know about these places to the people who are coming through your front doors? These are the kinds of topics we've been exploring already with our test groups, and that we want to continue to explore as the program unfolds. We want to look at stewardship and safe and enjoyable outdoor experiences. Last fall, we did some testing, and we are going to be reshaping content along the way. We don't know exactly what form it will take, but we did some pretty fun things. We did things like help me fill my backpack, with the things you would take with you on an outdoor adventure. We, considered, what are the different components of leave no trace, and, how do you convey that to a visitor that's coming through your front door without, getting too detailed. So just, having those kinds of conversations around stewardship and conservation as well. Like you got from the start of this discussion, we plan to have people thinking about what kind of travelers they are, and what do visitors need. And when we were talking about visitors in this context, we're thinking about both in region and out of region visitors. We recognize we all travel throughout this region for experiences. So we're thinking using the term visitor pretty generally, I would say. And another one, this came out of some testing we did in the fall again, was, having people create their own itineraries. If we're trying to think about how to better provide better visitor experiences, let's create our own outdoor itineraries and share them with other members of the cohort. And, we see this as an example of something that can have a life beyond the program. that if you can really start to think about where you want to send people, and now all of a sudden you have 39 other people around you who are representatives of some of those sites, you can literally send some of your visitors out to some of those sites. So again, the network piece is intended to be a really powerful part of what we're doing. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a feel for what we're hoping to cover. A little bit about why you might participate. Whenever we did our surveys last year, we gave people like this whole list of options of things that we thought they might be motivated by, badges and certificates and some other things that we're still looking at. But at the end of the day, people told us that they want the opportunity to improve their regional knowledge. That's something a little bit less tangible, but it was the thing that seemed to be most important to most of the people that were taking the survey, as well as visiting and becoming familiar with regional attractions. So one is understanding the region better. The other is getting out to see it. And then, of course, getting to know other members of the outdoor economy and the outdoor recreation community was important as well, and helped to inform our focus on the network component of this program. Okay, I have one more section here, but this is a lot, I'm sure. I want to just ask, are there any comments or questions in the chat that I need to be addressing? Asking of my fellow team members. And I actually just looked over to the chat. I'm not seeing anything.
Yep,
So
not seeing anything.
I want to encourage you to use the chat. Whether you have comments, suggestions, or questions, we will do our best to address them throughout the conversation, and especially in the Q&A. So let's look at some of the nitty-gritty details here. The application is ready. The application period begins in about 5 minutes. We have it live, and we will share the link with you. And the application period will last throughout the month of February, or as long as it takes to fill all of the seats to the program. It's important for us to try to have everybody in place by the end of February so that we can have you participating by mid-March. By mid-March, we want you to have your self-paced online content. We promise to make it fun and easy. It's just, walking you through some information about all of these kind of topics we've talked about. We have some great videos that we've been producing, some really simple quizzes, like the easiest quizzes you could imagine. And, the idea is just to get you ready for the in-person portion of the program. So that will happen mid-March through mid-April. And then in April and May, we're together in person going through this experience together. Here are the dates for both regions. For the PFW, the classroom day is on April 9th. And then I just want to point out, then we have a little bit of space until the next session. We have about 3 weeks between that date and whenever you have your first site visit day. And then another 2 weeks later, you'll have your second site visit day, and that will be the conclusion of the program. In the Laurel Highlands, it's every 2 weeks from April 23rd through May 20th. So, excuse me, what that looks like is we're meeting mostly on Wednesdays. Their one exception is in the Laurel Highlands on May 20th. That's a Tuesday. The reason for that is that's leading up to Memorial Day weekend, which we recognize is a busy time for so many of you. So we just pushed it back a day just to provide a little bit of space between those two things. And, I have to tell you, timing is tough. We know that if you work in a state park or a state forest, or probably, work in tourism generally, you want to avoid the high season, right? So we were trying to find time to host this program after most seasonal employees and volunteers have returned, but before the Memorial Day holiday. And that's what this ends up looking like for us, is an April-May program. I'm going to give another like specific detail. I think this would be helpful probably for DCNR staff members who are planning to participate. And if we haven't made it abundantly clear, this is a program that is bringing together DCNR staff with people who work and volunteer in other places. If you work with outdoor travelers in either of these regions, we welcome you to apply, and we're looking forward to having you together in the same spaces, taking and participating in this program. But for the DCNR staff, we're looking at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. for everybody. But we recognize that some of you that are with DCNR have an earlier start time than that. This gives you a chance, hopefully, to get to your park or forest office, pick up a company vehicle, and get to the site of the training. So this was intentional, and I just wanted to point out the timing for you as you're making your decision. Okay, so I'm hoping some of you are ready to apply. This is a QR code to the application. Alicia is also going to put a link in. I recognize that some of you might be on your phones or just prefer to use links. Either of these things will get you to the same place, which is the live application. When you get there, there's going to be some information on the front end just telling you a little bit more about the program and its expectations. And then you can go through the application, which is really quite simple. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me or anyone on our team. But just this is where you're going if you're interested in learning more and making application. This is a pilot program. We don't know how many people are going to apply. We don't know how competitive of a process this is, but it was important to us to use an application process because we are really looking for people that are eager to be a part of this cohort experience and give us some information that allow us to make that determination as to fit. So we are going to be in touch with you probably. It's kind of hard to say right now, but we're probably looking at very early March to give you a confirmation. I also wanted to note that, well, first of all, to back up a little bit, we are putting most of our energy into creating a fun and dynamic in-person program, and that's really where our focus is. However, some of these materials, that 1 to 2 hours of online material, will be available online to a wider audience. We don't know quite exactly when we're going to make that available to everybody, but if for any reason you are not able to participate in the full program, there will be at least some introductory content available to you and to your colleagues, and we wanted to make you aware of that today. I want to take a moment to thank our project team. We've been at this for a long time. What you're seeing here is a blend of DCNR and PEC staff members and Cycle Forward. I just really greatly appreciate this group and all that it's put into this, as well as the many other DCNR staff members and partners who have provided input to this program. So it's been a long time coming, and it's exciting to be here today, ready to open the applications and right now to take some of your questions and comments. I'm going to stop my share and invite the rest of the project team, if you're able to, come on the camera and let's see what people are wondering about. Just going to go into.
Amy,
Yeah,
I see. Go ahead, Alicia.
Yeah, I was going to offer a couple of the questions that came through on the chat. So one is about the site visits and where are we planning on having those field trip days, and do we know yet where the in-person day will be?
No, we don't. for the in-person day, we are working on our short list right now, and I think our commitment generally is to be someplace that is pretty central for your respective region. And if you have suggestions, you can feel free to contact us, because we're getting to the point that we want to get that set. And the second part of that question had to do with the field day, the site visit days, correct, Alicia?
Yes, yeah, and just what are some examples of those, and what does that look like?
So we are, I want to back up and say, that a part of the inspiration for this program, or at least a really nice model for it, was the existing frontline staff trainings that exist in the Laurel Highlands and in the PFW. They've been at it for a long time in the Laurel Highlands, and that's generally internal to DCNR, but they take people out to visit, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 sites in a day. And so I think we could accomplish seeing a similar number of sites. So by the time that you are done with this program, you will have seen maybe up to about a dozen sites in your region that maybe you haven't seen before. And we're still working on the list of sites we want to visit, but we're looking at outdoor spaces. This could include state parks, state forest, other types of outdoor spaces. This could include potentially maybe some cultural or historical sites. If you stop and think about it, a lot of those kinds of sites also offer an outdoor component, right? You're at Falling Water and you're walking the grounds, or if you're at Fort Necessity, again, you're outside walking the grounds. And so we're looking to provide just a blend of experiences that give people a better feel for the region. It can't be comprehensive in nature, but we think it'll help create some important in-person experiences, and really, that's where we're headed with it.
Amy, can I add to that?
Yes, please do, Janet.
Hi, everyone. And again, thank you all for participating on this webinar with this exciting new program. I just want to add to what Amy was talking about. And if you were looking at some of the slides earlier, we're talking about like conservation and stewardship. So one of the things we have talked about as far as site visits too is maybe some hidden gems, maybe some places where, it's a little off the beaten path, not, really popular, because we are trying to spread out the visitation and have people go to some areas. And along with that, we've realized that gives people a sense like they have in the know, like they're getting inside information on the region, and it makes them feel a little more special and excited about visiting. So, we're like Amy said, we're still throwing around ideas and we're talking about topics, but I imagine we'll have some iconic places to the regions, and then maybe we'll be, looking for some hidden gems.
That's a great addition, Janet. And I don't know if the person who was asking was even thinking from a logistical perspective or not, but we think it'll probably be caravan style, right? So we're going to be gathering in one place, and moving from site to site together as a group, and probably having a chance to interact with somebody from that site who can give us a tour and tell us more about their location. All right, let's take another.
Amy, I saw a pretty good question from Britt asking, do you have to be in the specific conservation landscape to join one of these, or is it open kind of across regions?
Yeah, thanks, Ricky. Hi, Britt. You should be either in or adjacent or near one of those landscapes, I guess would be my response. Whenever you go to the application, what you're going to see is a list of counties. Those counties are specific to those landscapes, but there's an other line, and the other line is, let's assume you're an outfitter who provides services in these regions, but your office is, a county over. I'm just making up an example. But, essentially you should be either in or near the regions, somehow either serving that region or interacting with visitors who will be visiting those places. So yeah, that's what we're planning for the pilot. Gretchen, did I see you were maybe going to jump in on that? No?
No, I think you summed that up well. We're not trying to be exclusive here, but the grant was limited in scope, and the ability to provide this statewide certainly would be a vision of ours. We'll look at that in the evaluation stage about how we kind of roll this out in other areas of the state, and that's our hope we can do that. But at this point in time, we had to, because of financial limitations, keep it narrowly focused.
Oh, by the way, at this point in the webinar, I think we were planning to unmute everybody, and I think I saw Susan had her hand up. Is that Susan Gallagher?
Yep, this is Susan. I unmuted myself. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to ask a question because it was just easier for me to ask than to type in the chat. I'm just a little less interested in site visits than I am in learning how to connect with tourists and visitors who are maybe not as familiar with or comfortable in the outdoors. And I was wondering if the program would help me do things like that.
Yeah, great question. I certainly think the program would help you with that. It's one of the things we continue to come back to as a project team is that a lot of the visitors that are going to walk through your visitor center or whatever your location might be are probably maybe novice visitors, new to the outdoors, based on what we've seen, trends that we've seen over the last few years. So we are looking to make sure that we have content to serve that audience. We keep talking about wanting frontline or wanting the cohort members to be able to contribute to safe and enjoyable experiences. A lot of that, like with that, we have in mind like newer audiences. I don't know if that's starting to get to answer your question or not, Susan.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
And Amy, I'll jump in here. I think, Susan, there's a good question. And I think a lot of that online content and the content of the in-person classroom one-day session is going to get to what you're asking, or that's kind of to provide the meat of, helping outdoor visitors explore safely throughout the region. The site visits help broaden your knowledge base of everything that's out there.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Stacy, I saw your hand was up.
Hey, thanks for the session and, great job pulling this all together. I just have a question, since we're, ideally the ambassadors in this program are able to interface, with the regions, with the assets in the region, with site managers and park managers and obviously visitors too. I'm wondering if we'll have the opportunity to be briefed like by park managers or superintendents on any updates or maintenance or needed maintenance or updates to recreation assets in the Commonwealth. I'm like thinking, for example, like if there's a new parking lot and that, or like a parking lot is expanded or changed and like that helps, like we need to convey to visitors like how to park to maximize those areas. Like that's an issue at a lot of trailheads. Like, will we have the opportunity to be briefed on any of those projects? And also like any like maintenance on trails, like making sure that the maintenance and care on trails by the park management teams like actually coincides with the use of the trails to make them safe, enjoyable, and like maximize the experience. Will this program create an opportunity for the ambassadors to like interface and be up to date on those types of things?
think, especially now that you've asked that, Stacy, I think that's a really good question. And I mean, you're a great example of someone who knows the Laurel Highlands so well. But what I'm hearing is that you would be looking for what's new in the region. What are the detours? What do we need to know right now this year? And I feel pretty comfortably saying that we can pursue getting that kind of information. I don't know if it's like an actual briefing, like in-person briefing, but maybe compiling some really critical and timely information for the group. I love that.
Can I pick up on that too, Amy?
Yeah, sure. And then we'll go to Janet after you.
I just want to kind of echo it in that question and in a comment. You know, beyond all the places we visit and all the things we talk about, I think sort of a fundamental value of this is creating that peer-to-peer network and developing those relationships between everyone that's in this space. So, you know, if getting to a point where we're putting out information in a more timely manner, if that's sort of a phase 2 or 3 of this, I'd like to think that once we're able to make those connections and deepen those relationships on a peer-to-peer level, nothing should prevent anyone from reaching out to someone directly and say, hey, you know, I'm on your team. We're all in this together. What do I need to know? How can I help facilitate this? So I would just make a note that none of us should lose focus of that peer-to-peer network and kind of the ongoing value of that and how we can all use that.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thanks, Ricky. I appreciate that. That is one of the goals of this program, is to create that peer-to-peer network. And hopefully it doesn't just exist within the program. Like, you feel comfortable, like Ricky said, to call somebody up or, you know, to ask, is the new parking lot done, and so on and so forth. So I think that is really key to what we're trying to do here. But I really appreciate you bringing that up, Stacy. That is a very, very good point.
And I think being an outdoor ambassador kind of gives you a little bit of that authority to do that. So, you know, we're trying to create that with this group. Obviously, you know, part of this group will be DCNR folks. But, you know, having the authority to reach out to a park manager or someone in the space and say, hey, I'm an outdoor ambassador for the region, and can you give me X, Y, and Z information? So it's like kind of a little, you know, badge of authority that you may had, not a literal badge of authority, but a figurative badge of authority to approach folks in the region.
And now you'll know who they are and who to contact.
Alicia, do you see other questions that we should be addressing?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with the chat. There was one person, so Marilyn asked, can more than one person from an organization be represented? I don't think we addressed that yet.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yes, the answer is yes. We have to see what comes in, and we're looking for balance in this program. We sort of imagine about half DCNR and half partner organizations, whether that's nonprofits or small businesses who are able to come out and join us. So you know, if you're with an entity that puts in a number of applications, we can't really guarantee that multiple people will be accepted, but we certainly see the possibility for more than one person per entity to take part in the program together. We have to see what comes in, I suppose. And I think I saw a similar question maybe about application deadline, which might be a good segue just to confirm that, you know, we're looking to close the applications at the end of February. So let's say February 28th, but if we get if we need more time than that, we'll take it.
Amy, I think Diane also was asking about before the registration deadline closes, are we going to be able to share more information about where the in-person classroom training will take place and what the site visits will be, so people can make more informed decisions?
That's an interesting question. Can we get back to you about that, Diane? I think as a project team, we probably need to talk about that. But I can imagine that you might potentially be thinking, well, if I've seen a bunch of the sites, do I want to do this? I'm just sort of reading between the lines. And you can feel free to clarify. But I see you said yes. We'll get back to you about that. And if there's an update that we think is pertaining to sites that's of interest to the larger group, we have your emails now, and we will be in touch about that.
Amy, it might not be unrealistic to lock in at least the classroom teaching location before so whether that sways somebody from applying or not, I doubt it. I think Diane was maybe talking more about the field visits, and we'll try to wrap them up as soon as we can. And as Amy mentioned, looking for ideas, if this group of people who are really interested and engaged in the program, potentially interested in participating, if there are certain things that people want to see, that's something we could consider as well as we make our decisions.
Yeah. And we weren't explicit about it, but just in the event that there may be people that are wondering if they can participate in a part of the program, but not all of it. Like you might just want to come for the classroom or just for the site visits. We won't be able to accommodate that. Like we are looking for people to go through an entire experience together, which includes the one classroom day and the 2 site visits. We're looking for the total package, complete experience, and a big part of that is you spending 3 days with your peers, building those relationships that we're planning on, we're hoping for. All right, let's keep going with the questions. Alicia, I'm going to keep looking to you for the chat questions.
Yeah, John asked a good question, and I was about to answer it, but I think it's worth discussion. Will the program focus on outdoor recreation etiquette?
I don't know how far into etiquette we're going to go. I'm sort of wondering if any of the project team members have any thoughts on that.
I'll take a run at that. I think it's important that we keep those things in mind, but I think we also want to be mindful of kind of meeting people where they are and where they're coming into this space. We know that a lot of our visitors are new to spaces like this, so I think it's important that we have those educational tools at our disposal to talk about leave no trace and good stewardship and being mindful of other people on the trail. And just kind of when we do talk about etiquette or general politeness, just being mindful that we're doing it in an educational, welcoming tone, and not bumping up against, well, this is how you have to behave out here type of thing, right? That comes with time. So I think that's always important, that it's just we meet people where they are, and we do our best to welcome people in outdoor spaces with a smile and welcoming persona.
This reminds me, Ricky, of the fact that we don't expect people that go through this program experience to know everything about their region by the time that they are complete. Like we wouldn't expect you to know or understand all of the etiquette, all of the particulars. We wouldn't expect you to know everything about your region and its sites, but we want you to have some of the tools that you need to be able to go for some of those answers. And we want you to have had a chance to really think and explore what makes for a satisfying encounter with your outdoor visitors, outdoor travelers. And so, like I mentioned that we touched on leave no trace, and we touched on the 10 essentials when we did a training in the fall. And it wasn't about like perfecting our knowledge of those areas. It was about using some of that information to help the person that walked into your business on this Monday in August, right? It's just they're tools that we can use. I think that the most important thing for us is deepening the understanding of how we interact with people and serve them and work with our networks, you know, to serve travelers. I see Ian's comment in the chat just can't come through. If you think you know someone who would be a good fit, send them the application. Yeah, they don't have to just, yeah, please send the information out, and we will be following up with you over the next couple of days. We want to make sure we have the recording ready to share, but you will get more information about the program. You will have access to the recording. We have flyers that you can share if you want to share that way. We'll probably have social media posts coming out of PEC's social media account. So you could just share their post. You'll have a number of different ways that you can get this information out. Thank you, Ian. Thank you for your guidance on this program as well. Other questions?
It may be different for nonprofit partners, but specifically for DCNR seasonal employees, they may not be able to apply for a work-related thing when they're on seasonal leave. So I was just, with my comment, I was hoping that park managers would be aware that they may need to be applying on behalf of their employees, and hopefully the application takes that into account, that it may be someone opting someone in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we may have to take a closer look at that. The application doesn't really, we can probably like find a way to make that work. You know, if they have someone that they think would be interested in the program. Justin, did I see that you came off of mute?
Yep. So building on that, the application like it asks you to like put in your own words what you find to be unique about the Pocono region. So what do you want us to do if we're applying on behalf of somebody else when it says like in your own words?
Yeah, that's great. So Justin, let's assume this is someone you worked with last season and you have a pretty good feeling for them, and maybe you've texted with them. I don't know, I'm just making this up. But they're not able to submit the application on their own, right? Tell us, tell us it's you, and tell us that you're pretty sure they're interested, and we'll take that into consideration as we're reviewing applications. Okay. So it seems like there's a ton of comments. We are reachable following this webinar. So if we didn't answer your question, we will comb through the comments and be certain to get back to you. But does anyone want to have like one last question before we wrap up here, or comment? Okay. I want to thank you for your interest. We are so pleased with this turnout, and we will be back in touch very soon. And we're looking forward to filling up both of these cohorts and having a really great experience this spring. Gretchen, I want to hand it over to you to close us out here.
Well, thank you, Amy, for guiding us through this last hour. But most importantly, thank you all for attending, showing interest in this. We're all lovers of the outdoors, many of us nature lovers, and by the first exercise. And I know you share my enthusiasm for helping people navigate the outdoors. So let's do that together. I hope you all fill out the application or send it along to someone you know who would be a good fit for the program. We hope to fill these seats, as Amy said, and so that means we'd be seeing some of you or all of you here in a couple months. So thanks for your time today and attention, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.